Meeting for the Aurora City Council for November 28th, 2022 is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bergen.
Here.
Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Marcano.
Present.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
And Councilmember Zvonek.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Announcement of the public call-in line information.
Good evening. City Council welcomes feedback from the public on both matters appearing on the agenda and during public invited to be heard. If you would like to speak and have not already spoken to an operator, please press *3. For those watching on Channel 8, call 855-695-3475 and press *3 when connected. You will hear a prompt confirming you are in line to speak to an operator and then be able to continue listening to the meeting. When the operator comes on the line, please be ready to give them your name and agenda item that you wish to speak on. Keep in mind you must press *3 before the city clerk reads the title of the item you're wishing to speak on. And finally, as a reminder, council does not allow comments on any items on the agenda during public invited to be heard. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, and public invited to be heard is limited to 1 hour. Thank you.
El Consejo Municipal invita a todos los residentes a dar su opinión en estas reuniones municipales, tanto en los asuntos que aparecen en la agenda como en la sección de invitación al público a ser escuchado. Por favor, llamar al 1-877-820-7831 y al conectarse marque la clave 254610 y el signo de numeral para tomar su lugar en fila para ser escuchado. La operadora tomará su nombre y el asunto de la agenda la cual usted quiere comentar y lo pondrá en espera para su turno. Antes de ser llamado por el secretario municipal, las personas que llamen necesitarán registrarse en la sección Invitación al público a ser escuchado o elegir comentar en un tema específico de la agenda. Dependiendo del volumen de las llamadas, puede ser que tome tiempo conectarlo a una operadora o un operador, así que por favor tenga paciencia y manténgase conectado a la línea. Muchísimas gracias.
Please join me in an invocation. O Lord, our God and our Father, we come to you and we ask that you would look upon this particular gathering tonight to keep us safe and guide us in our decisions. Bless our city with honorable citizens, industry, and sound education and good government. Unite our community together. Even though we come from different backgrounds, we pray that there be justice and peace in our city. Give the City Council and citizens the wisdom, direction, and sensitivity to the business and proceedings before us tonight. Hear us, therefore, as we commit this meeting to the help of the community. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Executive session update. During executive session, we discussed an update on settlement conference and council appointee evaluation. Approval of the minutes for November 14, 2022.
So moved, Gardner.
It's been moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by?
Mayor, second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, would the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the approval of the minutes?
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
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 The motion passes to adopt the November 14th, 2022 council meeting minutes.
We have a proclamation today for Donor Alliance. If the leadership of that organization could step forward, please. Whom I worked with for a number of years. Whereas Donor Alliance's mission is to save and heal lives through organ and tissue donation and transplantation. with a vision to maximize all donation opportunities, and whereas Donor Alliance manages all aspects of organ and tissue donation, supports donor families, and educates and inspires communities and healthcare partners about their role in the life-saving process and donation, and whereas one donor can save up to 8 lives through organ donation and save and heal more than 75 lives through tissue donation, and whereas Colorado's 67% donor registry rate leads the nation, and whereas in partnership with Donor Alliance, the City of Aurora has become a donate life community, affirming the life-saving and life-healing benefits of donations and transplantation, which will create awareness and engage its community to increase donor registrations, and whereas the City of Aurora has and will continue to recognize the month of April as Donate Life Month. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Mike Kaufman, City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim Aurora as Donate Life Community, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be affixed this 10th day of November 2022, Mike Kaufman, Mayor. And a few words from Donor Alliance.
Thank you, Mayor Kaufman and City Council and Aurora residents. I'm Jennifer Prinz. I'm the President and CEO for Donor Alliance, and we have the opportunity to be here tonight to celebrate the City of Aurora being the first Donate Life community in Colorado and the second in the country. This is fantastic. I really appreciate all of your help and support. We do have tremendous donor designation rates. The citizens of Aurora have made a big difference in those donor designation rates throughout Colorado, as well as our fellow Coloradoans. To all of those citizens of Aurora and their family members who have been heroic organ, eye, and tissue donors over the years, thank you. Those families have saved many Colorado lives and other lives in our country. Thank you very much for proclaiming the Donate Life community, and I look forward to working with you and the City Council and the citizens of Aurora in the future. Thank you.
Judicial vacancy, appointment of a new associate judge. Any words from the Chief Judge on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. As you were informed back in October, one of our current associate judges, Judge Dana Spade, is retiring at the end of the year, effective December 30th, after 27-plus years of dedicated service to our community. We're going to truly miss Judge Spade on our bench. With that vacancy, we posted the position, the opening, conducted 12 interviews, and it is my great honor to nominate 4 people for your consideration to fill the vacancy that we will have when Judge Spade retires at the end of the year. Those 4 people are Shelby Files, Patricia Herron, Jonathan Lucero, and Rebecca Watada. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions of the Chief Judge?
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you. Judge Day, can you talk a little bit about what the learning curve is for a first-time judge, especially in an associate judge role versus a relief judge role?
You bet. One of the requirements when we as a committee look to when interviewing people for any vacancy for our court, but especially for an associate position, is to look at each and every individual's background and experience that they have in a courtroom. The amount of time that they have in a courtroom, the number of trials that they may have been involved with through the course of their courtroom work. When appointed to the bench, especially if you're coming from a position of an advocacy position, either from the defense side or the prosecution side, or from any other non-criminal background, some advocate position, you have to assume the position of a neutral magistrate, neutral and detached magistrate. So that process, for anybody, there's a learning curve to it, because you're coming from a position typically of advocacy to a non-advocate position. Our court is the busiest and biggest municipal court in the state of Colorado. We have a lot of nuance to our court, and so there's clearly a learning curve as it comes to the nuance of our court, the procedures, the forms that we use, some of our individual specific rules that we have for our court. So there's a learning curve for that as well. For anybody that would come to our bench who may have judicial experience or not, there is somewhat of a learning curve for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions of the Chief Judge? Seeing none, thank you, Chief Judge
You're
Jay.
welcome.
Nominations is now in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jurenski.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Shelby Files.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jurenski, seconded by
Zvonik.
Councilmember Zvonik to appoint Shelby Files.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to appoint Jonathan Lucero.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by Councilmember Mercano to appoint, as a substitute motion, to appoint John Lucero to the position as a new associate judge. Discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight that we as council received a wide range of letters recommending Judge Lucero that came from folks not only in the court but also in the community, teachers, social workers, and that there were also folks that he had dealt with within the courts that discussed his commitment to the city of Aurora, as well as his commitment to fairness and to really hearing people out and to balancing addressing crime with also rehabilitation and having people actually be able to better their lives through coming to municipal court. And since municipal court is people's first experience and hopefully only experience with courts in general, we want to have that kind of balance where we are ensuring that people have that opportunity to better their lives. While again, also making sure that if people are victims of crime, that folks are held accountable for committing those crimes.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the Coombs substitute motion to appoint John Lucero to the position of associate judge. Would clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
No.
Councilmember Zvonik.
No.
The motion does not pass with 7 no votes, 4 yes votes. The yes votes, Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, and Murillo.
To the original motion by Councilmember Jurenski to appoint Shelby Files to the position of associate judge. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Gardner.
I have a question for the city attorney. Can an additional substitute motion be made?
No, you've had this.
Okay.
There's one. There's only one.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to necessarily use my platform to speak against a candidate, because I think anytime you put your name out there for a job, you should be commended for that. That being said, with this applicant that we're about to vote on. My concern is not having previously served in a judge's role. We have other candidates who have served either as associate or relief judges. That is a big step up, not having managed their own courtroom. If and when we select a candidate, we potentially could have a relief judge position open. I think this person might be a good, this might be a good opportunity for them to learn a courtroom. But I will not support this because I think we have more qualified candidates that have run a courtroom. And with as Judge Day observed, we have a very complex court here in Aurora. More than likely, our caseload is going to increase. We passed 2 ordinances recently requiring mandatory minimums. So more than likely, our caseload is going to increase. And I don't think that's a time to be putting somebody in a role that they have not served in previously.
Further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Jurenski.
I do just want to say on Shelby Files' behalf, because obviously she cannot speak for herself. It is true that she hasn't served in a judge position, but the Adams County DA strictly doesn't allow it. She comes highly recommended from the Adams County DA's office. She has wanted to and has tried multiple times to be a relief judge in our court, and is just simply not allowed. And an income of just a relief judge alone, there's no way that she could do it. So she's waited her time. But to say that she doesn't have the court experience, Judge Day talked to some things that are taken into consideration for these finalists is their time in court. And over the course of her career, she's been involved in the prosecution of homicides, attempted homicides, robberies, domestic violence-related assaults, drug cases, motor vehicle thefts, sexual assaults. And early in her career, she gained a lot of experience prosecuting traffic matters, which is pretty specific to our court. That included DUIs and misdemeanor offenses. I think she absolutely has enough courtroom experience to accept this position. So I just wanted to say that since she's not able to say that for herself.
Just a point of clarification, I think you're referring to associate judge versus relief judge. Am I correct?
I was talking about associate judge, but I was talking about how she has tried to be, she's wanted to be a relief judge, but the Adams County DA, who she works for, has not let her.
Okay, I stand corrected. Further discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Marcano.
Thank you, sir. Something just got brought to my attention I'm a little concerned about, so I'll ask the city attorney. Are there any restrictions around being related to someone who might be serving in a law enforcement capacity in the city to be a judge?
No, that isn't one of the restrictions under the charter.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Jurenski motion to appoint Judge Shelby Files to the position of associate judge. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner. Thank you. The motion passes with 6 yes votes, 5 no votes. The no votes from Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, Murillo, and Gardner.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your consideration. Appreciate it.
Before public invited to be heard is conducted, I want to read the land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that made up the state of Colorado. Indigenous peoples have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Public invited to be heard.
Yes, Mayor, we have a few individuals in person. The first is Omen Cross, followed by Zachary Heaton.
Yeah, my name is Omen Cross. I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving, holidays around the house. Today, based on all the tragedy that's been going on, I wrote something since the last meeting, real short, and I just wanted to share it with everybody. It's called How Much is One Worth? Today, something special. Having had discussions with people of many kinds, faiths, political affiliations, etc., I have found a commonality, a way to explain a concept regardless of which choices you make personally. Here it is. If you look close, you can see that there are millions of different versions of every individual, each one distinct and separate from the others. The differences between them are differences in the choices they make. But inside those millions of potentials, there exists one who you alone may be aware of, one who is stronger than the demons, the addictions, and the bad influences that seek to pollute you. Reach inside, find that one, find the absolute best of yourself. Then be that, even if the whole world hates you for it. Every time you stumble or hope seems lost, remember that one. Never give up on what you believe about yourself. Do this, and over time, that one will be the only you that remains. So back to the original question, how much is one worth? The honest answer is it depends on which one we're discussing. Thank you.
Zachary Heaton, followed by Tanya Tabachek.
Good evening, City Council. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. I'd start with a review of the last meeting, but the 3-minute timer holds me more hostage than your proceedings, and there's all the pun in the world intended at that. During the last meeting, I had a conversation with Councilwoman Jurinsky. While not the center of the conversation, the claim that I am a fan of Councilman Marcano came up, and to this I thought I would clarify. I am not a super fan of Juan. I am a super fan of people doing their jobs well. In 10 weeks of participation, I think there might be 1 out of 15 emails that he has not answered. 400,000 people divided by 6 districts, that's about 66,000 person that he directly represents, along with the rest of you guys. Again, I appreciate people who take their work to the next level. On the topic of people doing their job well, I'd like to publicly thank Councilman Zvonek, who likewise took the time to meet and discuss various topics. If the argument is that I affiliate with Juan's politics, then it is sure that Dustin and I disagree on a few items. That said, it was a fantastic conversation where we found a lot more in common than we do opposing. At least I did. So thank you for your time. There was an awesome takeaway from that conversation where he mentioned that one of his mentors once told him, for politicians at least, that it is better to be the people's voice to the government than the government's voice to the people. The people's voice to the government, it's a great way of thinking about it, and it's something that I've been investigating. At the last meeting, I provided research that shows that the structure of this council has not been evaluated since 1983. In fact, before I was born, and I'm in my 30s. My question about the current structure is the accessibility of this council. 6 wards and 4 at large, that's 40 to 60,000 per district, depending on how you view it. How is a single-time, part-time counselor at $18,000 a year supposed to accomplish that level of communication? I'll repeat that for the public. The council is part-time, and they make roughly $18,000 a year for their hard work. I'm just personally not convinced that you guys are set up for success. I won't make a direct call for change because I think that's more of the will of the people and that public at large. But if you're listening and you agree with me, then come down and get involved. It's something that I discussed with Dustin, and there certainly are values that he talks about with keeping government small that hold value. At the same time, I think it would be appropriate to have 2 council members per district and at least allow them some sort of staffing to address the concerns you hear about traffic, poverty, and crime at all these meetings. The money is there. You all just approved $8.5 million for the Highline Canal. I can't even tell you what that is. I've been here for 10 years. I checked with my wife, who has been a lifelong Aurora resident. She couldn't tell you what it was either. So I don't know where that money went to, but rock on. What I've discussed here is only the tip of the iceberg. I've got so much to discuss on that plan for a larger council and leverage the Aurora History Museum. I wanted to talk about them tonight, but again, that timer is a killer. So shout out to the Aurora History Museum. I'll talk about you guys next time. Unless you guys want to give me another 3 minutes, I think I'm probably going to get called. So until next Monday. Cheers.
Tanya Tabachek, followed by Becky Hogan.
Good evening, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Recently, on my street on 546 Kenton Street, they did a traffic calming data collection on my street. And according to them, they said that 85% speed at which 85% of drivers are traveling or below on the street was between 27 and 28 miles per hour. This is within the range of what is expected for this type of facility and within 5 miles and so forth. I did look up some information, and there is a school right behind us, Lansing Elementary School, and those cars do not just go 20 to 25, 28 miles per hour. If need be, I could bring some neighbors in the next council meeting or so forth to support that. But I did pull up some information from different reports. One said once the car can reach a certain speed, just about 20 miles per hour, they rapidly become more deadly. And also in collisions at 30 miles per hour, about 1 in 5 pedestrians will not survive. For older pedestrians, the odds are significantly worse. Also in our area, there's overconfident drivers who believe that they know the streets and they'll just whiz by the stop signs and so forth. Another one is even if a street close to home has 25 miles per hour speed limit, many drivers go faster, leading to accidents. In addition, people running late or for work or wanting to get home quickly after work may do so. And the last note that I have is Denver City Council, I guess in the past they had, I'm not sure if they had passed it or not, but there was an ordinance that would lower the default speed limit on streets in the city from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour, which would impact smaller neighborhood streets where there's no street limit sign posted and the default limit is 25 miles per hour. So I just wanted to stress that even though the data might not support having traffic calming devices on my street, there is an elementary school, and I just want everyone to be aware of it in case a child or we have more kids on our street, something happens to them. It is not on me, and I won't feel guilty about it. So I just want to let you guys know about it. Thank you.
Becky Hogan, followed by Heather Dearman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. National Philanthropy Day in Colorado is a special day set aside to recognize and pay tribute to individuals and organizations whose contributions improve the quality of lives, our community, and our world. On November 22nd, Heather Dearman was honored as Outstanding Volunteer for 2022. Thanks to family and friends and the community, along with our mayor, she was chosen among many. I wanted you to hear what our mayor wrote about Heather. He said, Heather's ongoing commitment will result in days of remembrance to those lost, reflections by those who survived, and a community filled with hope and support. Her impact on the city of Aurora truly represents the heart and the soul of our city. Also, Heather shared her story in a packed Seawall ballroom. There was a joke made about the fact that every mayor running for mayor of Denver was at that event because there were many, many donors present. But Heather shared her story in a packed Seawall ballroom. People were on their feet with applause and tears as she walked up the stage. Also honored was the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado, whose executive director, Dr. Ryan Ross, lives in Ward 2, as well as mentioned as a donor recipient, Village Exchange Center in Aurora. There's some remarkable things that people are doing in our city, and we wanted you to hear about the good. On December 6th, that's next Tuesday, it is Colorado Giving Day. And I would encourage each one of you, and for those that are in our audience, please remember to give We have a vast array of needs, anything from APS School Foundation to the 720 Memorial to many of the charities that may be near and dear to your hearts. So please remember to give Tuesday, December 6th. And with that, let us honor Heather Dearman.
Heather Dearman.
Becky was right. It was such an honor to receive the Outstanding Volunteer Award on National Philanthropy Day just a few short weeks ago. And speaking to a room full of over 700 people who give of their time and money about the resiliency of our community of Aurora was so inspiring. And it provided an opportunity to showcase the nonprofits that I volunteer for. The City of Aurora's own The Spirit of Aurora, the Colorado Resilient Life Center, the Survivors of Tragedy Outreach Program, and especially the 720 Memorial Foundation. In the few short weeks since the awards luncheon, there have been far too many communities that have been struck by mass tragedy and become a part of a growing club that no one wants to be a part of. One of those being in our own state, Colorado Springs, where hate took the lives of 5 beautiful people at Club Q. With the help of the Aurora History Museum, who we love as well, the foundation is collecting paper cranes containing notes of love and support to assemble on wreaths that we will be sending to those communities as a beacon of hope, including Club Q. And we have been in their darkness, and we remember the outpouring of love and support that we received 10 years ago. Our foundation will also have a table at the December 6th City of Aurora tree lighting out here, and we will be having the wreaths there as well. The 720 Foundation envisions a world where all people are thriving and empowered in their healing path, and where the need for mental health support in perpetuity is recognized, more readily available, and helps prevent other tragedy. So as Becky said, please remember to give on Colorado Gives Day, December 6th, to any of the wonderful Colorado nonprofits that provide support and resources that help people overcome their emotional challenges of recovering from individual and mass trauma. As did countless people from all over the world do 10 years ago after the Aurora Theater tragedy, you can also be a part of proving that there is more love in the world than hate. Thank you.
That was the last individual.
Adoption of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Gardner.
I'd like to motion to approve the agenda, removing items 10J through 10AF.
Did you want to do that under consent calendar?
What's that?
Did you want to do that under consent calendar?
Yeah, remove items 10J through 10AF from the consent calendar.
Okay, completely remove them.
Yes.
Do you need a second? Second.
10J through 10.
10J through 10AF.
Is there a second? It's been seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm disappointed to have to do this, but there have been too many questions that have come up with several of these ARPA grant recipients, and I don't feel comfortable saying that the appropriate due diligence has been done on these organizations, on all of them. And so what I would like to see is additional due diligence done, and staff bring this back, maybe the second meeting in January or something like that. But there have been several questions that have come up with several of these organizations, and at the end of the day, my responsibility is accountability to taxpayers, and I don't feel confident going back to our residents, to those that I'm accountable to, and saying that I'm putting your money to good use. And so I'd like to see additional due diligence done on these organizations before it's brought back.
Councilmember Gardner, is it your intent to table this at this time and continue on a date certain?
Yeah, if I could, and maybe that's a question for the city attorney, what I'd like to see is if we could table these until the second meeting in January, the second regular council meeting in January.
Sure, that's a motion.
Can I do it that way?
Well, if I could, a question of staff, and that is, when is the money supposed to be dispersed?
By the end of 2026.
Mayor Roberto
When was
Venegas.
it planned to be dispersed?
There was no time sensitivity. We wanted to get the money out because obviously it was ARPA dollars. Roberto Venegas, Deputy City Manager, excuse me, for the record. We were dispersing it based on the urgency that we had with CARES money and ARPA funding, that we wanted to get the money out into the community. If the council would like to provide, or us staff to provide more information on the due diligence that was provided on these and any questions, answer any questions, we're happy to do that. But there is no date certain, so if they wanted to move it into January, we can do that and answer any individual questions on particular grants.
What
in the
exactly
interim.
does enhanced due diligence mean in terms of what you've already done?
Well, we would look to Councilmember Gardner to meet with him and other council members to understand what specifically they were looking for. Just by way of information, we did have, as we did with other CARES grants and other funding, we did have Clifton Larson, which is a third-party auditing firm, do all the vetting on all of these organizations, both their financials as well as their status, in order before they were proceeded into even applying for the program. So we did have some diligence through that, and then on the back end did that as well. And then we had a interdepartmental group of evaluation that evaluated all the proposals and scope for what they were providing and their ability to provide those services. We are happy to lay that all out and provide that information in the council separate from this meeting. And if there are still questions and additional need for due diligence, we're happy to do that. But I think we could certainly provide you with the extensive diligence that we provided, not internally, but with Clifton Larson, which is an international accounting firm that looked through all these organizations to ensure that they were eligible for funding.
Councilmember Gardner, would the appropriate form for that be delegating it to a specific study session? Or how do you want to, could you discuss how you want to proceed with this?
Yeah, based upon the answer that Roberto gave, I think the study session immediately before the last regular meeting in January. So I believe, and Katie can probably confirm this for me, but that should be December 16th, or I'm sorry, January 16th?
Yeah, the council calendar hasn't been officially approved, so what I'll put is until the last study session in January 2023.
Okay.
Mr. Venegas, would that give you enough time?
Yeah. There we go. Yes, that'll give us enough time. And then what we will do in the interim is provide what we did up to date on these particular, and present that also in January, and try to get some sense of council members' specific requests around additional due diligence prior
I
to
just
the
think it's
January study
important to
session.
share all the information with all the members, and I think the best
Absolutely.
forum for that would be a study session.
We will do
Mayor
that.
Pro Tem.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say that I also would like to have some additional information, and whether you had it and we didn't have it in the backup. I went through all the backup, but we didn't have budgets and things like that in detail. I'm surprised that Clifton Larson did all their due diligence, because I found some things through some searches that had inconsistencies and actually were a little bit troubling. So I would appreciate having more information, and I'm happy to, provide you with my questions by email.
Yeah, if council members could provide any specific questions to me,
I would
we can do
encourage,
that.
should this
to address
pass, I would encourage all the members to send their concerns to Mr. Venegas, and then that information will be dispersed at the study session to everybody. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say I'm really aggravated by this. I find this all to be highly unusual. This is something we've now had in our backup for 2 council meetings. We discussed, my God, was it back in January of this year? the scope of the program. No one waited to raise any flags until the last minute, and I understand some of y'all have some concerns, but you have not made any of those known to the rest of your colleagues unless some of y'all are having group conversations and some of us are just excluded from that. So I'd like to know what are some of the things that you have found that we should all be aware of so that we know what to expect going into, I guess, this rehashing of this business, because I just find this highly irregular.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't think I want to disclose some of the information that I did find that is troubling, because it would be embarrassing to the organization. So I would rather first get more additional information from staff on due diligence to verify the information that I found.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand that it's last minute, but I will never apologize for advocating for taxpayers even up till the very last minute. You know, I wish we could have put a stop to some of this sooner. Some of this information didn't come up until today, but frankly, I will never apologize for advocating for taxpayers up until the last minute. So sorry that it's inconvenient for some people on council that wanted to just move on with this, but when we're talking about spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money, I am going to feel comfortable going back to those who hold me accountable and saying that we spent it the right way.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you. I'm 100% with you in terms of, you know, doing right by our residents and with our limited public resources. What I asked you, though, was, can you please provide some examples as to what's going on? Because none of this information, none of your concerns were ever communicated with me, and I'm going to assume several of my other colleagues. So out of courtesy to us and to the public, could you please tell us, give us an example or two of what y'all are discovering here that warrants this? Because our staff already, you know, Roberto did a great job of explaining to you the process that we've gone through. It's a process that we've used in the past, and we're getting all these red flags suddenly at the last minute. So I want to know more detail. What's going on here?
Councilmember Murillo.
Only if no one's, I don't have an answer to that question. It's just,
There's
if there's
no,
nobody,
there's
I
no-
would like to speak separately, though, not in response to Councilmember Marcano.
Well, Councilmember Gardner is not asked to be recognized by the chair.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll respond to that.
Very well, Councilmember Gardner.
One example was a bathroom upgrade in a private residence.
Okay.
And I can,
Mayor Pro Tem.
yeah, I mean, I didn't want to bring it up publicly, but yeah, there's a renovation for a bathroom. The company is based out of Florida. The mother of the applicant owns the home. The applicant resides with the mother. The applicant appears to no longer be a practicing counselor. So there's a lot of questions.
Councilmember Lawson.
Councilmember Marcano, too, for me, some of the organizations, because you've seen that what I brought up last at the study session about the youth violence, there's some data that I want, and there's a couple organizations that we gave funding to from the Youth Violence Prevention Program that I want to see that they're asking for youth violence money again. So for me, want to see the data, which I asked for next week at our study session. So that's one of my reasons for an example.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
Sundberg?
Oh, Councilmember Sundberg.
Yes, sir. I had a call from an individual who actually founded one of these organizations that was wanting to put the money on hold as they're in a transitionary phase, not in a position to accept funds right now, no real solid leadership, just not a good use of resources. So that's one that is going to be riding the city and putting the brakes on.
Okay. Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. I mean, this would be the second time that we're delaying, which I have a lot of heartburn over. I know, I'm assuming that we have, and actually I would ask our city clerk if you have a count of how many folks have signed up to speak on any of the ARPA awards tonight.
Yes, we have 8 individuals who signed up to speak for item 10Q.
Could you pass me the water? Thanks.
Okay. And is that all?
Yes.
Okay. So there are folks here who have taken time out of their day to come speak. So I don't support delaying again. I do support, if there are specific ones that folks have concerns about, it would have been helpful to know in advance. I understand that that's not always practical. For example, if there's concerns from the applicant just even accepting the money, I think we should probably listen to that, right? If they're saying they're not in a place to receive that, like that, why would we move forward, for example? So I do think that there are some reasonable requests there, but I think delaying the whole slate just gives me some heartburn, and I'm concerned that, these smaller nonprofits, they rely on these dollars to set their budgets for the next year. So, if anything, I would ask that we make this as quick as possible. I know we need to be thorough, but we've already gone through a process thus far, so we're not starting from scratch. I guess all that being said, I'm disappointed that we're going to be delaying the vote again. And as soon as we know kind of the council concerns, I hope that that's shared with all of council so that we're not presented with this situation yet again in January.
Further discussion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
I guess my question is if there are specific ones that folks are concerned about, why we're delaying all of them instead of delaying the specific ones that people have concerns about.
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Because I had a level of confidence on the due diligence and background checks that were done on these, and based upon the information that I received today, I don't have that confidence any longer, so I don't feel comfortable supporting it. And I think that's unfortunate because I can go through this list, and I think there are some really good groups doing really good work on there, but it's not fair for me to pick and choose based upon my own interpretation of their reputation who should and shouldn't get it without going through the proper due diligence. And so unfortunately, some of those groups are going to have to wait a little bit while we, in my opinion, properly vet these organizations.
Further discussion. Seeing none, the question before us is the Gardner amendment to the adoption of the agenda to table item number 10J through 10AF to the next study session. And what date is that?
Mayor, the date hasn't been set for 2023. The council calendar hasn't been approved, so it's going to be the last, and I believe there's only one study session in January. So we'll have it, depending on what council approves for council calendar, it'll be the last study session in January 2023.
So Councilman Gardner, just say study session versus a specific date certain. Very well. To the last study session in January? Okay, to the last study session in January. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
Just one other quick question. We only have one study session in January per the calendar that we were looking at adopting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so if there are other items from policy committees and other things, are we looking at possibly delaying other items that are in the pipeline to do this?
That's not the motion. So I can't speak to that because we don't know what all the issues are yet that will be on that study session. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes with the amendment to the consent calendar with 10 yes votes and 1 no vote from Councilmember Murillo.
Okay. I want to apologize for anybody who's come here to address this issue tonight on behalf of a specific nonprofit that's listed in the items that were tabled, but I do think it gives you an opportunity between now and the study session in January to make your case with members of council as well as to be able to accept or reject the findings of the due diligence and bring those forward as well. Item number, will the clerk now please read the title to item number 11A?
Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, is there further?
we have to do the consent calendar. So it would be
Okay.
consent calendar with items 10J.
Oh, I'm sorry, whoops.
And
Consent
10F.
calendar, item number 10A through 10I. Motion?
Mayor, I move to approve consent calendar 10A through 10I.
Moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Bergen.
Mayor Pro Tem Bergen to approve item number 10A through 10I. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please call for the question on item number, on the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A through 10I.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Lawson? Thank you. The motion
Yes.
passes to adopt the consent calendar.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 11A.
Item 11A is Resolution 2022-229, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, approving the IGA between the City of Aurora, Colorado and the Community College of Aurora, establishing a curriculum to qualify Aurora fire rescue students for enrollment in the community college for college credits.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. This is a presentation of an IGA between the Aurora Fire Rescue and CCA, Community College of Aurora. It's actually a replacement for a 2016 IGA, and it's an agreement where the Aurora Fire Rescue members can be trained in EMT level training under the umbrella of the CCA facility. In exchange, they get to use facilities out at Capstick for the training of their people. So it's something that benefits both of us. There's almost no financial, we get a break on the deal that we get with them for education. They get a break on using the training facilities for their education of their people through the Fire Academy.
Okay. Questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 11A.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by?
Marcano.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcano to approve item number 11A. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item number 11A.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-229.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 11B.
Item 11B is Resolution 2022-230 for the IGA between the City of Aurora and the Colorado Department of Transportation for the funding of the Aurora Aerotropolis I-70 Corridor TDM Project Development and Implementation Project.
Brief presentation by staff.
Yeah, Tom Worker Braddock, Senior Transportation Planner. This resolution would have the City of Aurora enter into an agreement with the Colorado Department of Transportation to develop and implement a transportation demand management program for the Aerotropolis I-70 corridor area. This was initiated due to ongoing concerns that city staff has heard from businesses and employees in that area about the ability to have employees get to work if they don't have access to a reliable automobile. City is providing a local match of $19,873 for a total project cost of $130,000.
Questions of staff?
Mayor?
Councilmember Coombs.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about the kinds of services that are provided through a transportation demand management project.
Yeah, the transportation demand management program would basically provide a combination of education to employees about the availability of services that they could use. It would also be an opportunity to develop a type of organization which would be more easily able to enter into contracts with businesses that provide shuttle services or other transportation services. Basically, instead of each business having to write a small check to a shuttle company and all those checks combining up to provide that service, each business would just write a check to the Transportation Demand Management Organization, and that demand management organization would manage that shuttle contract. This agreement would be to develop and refine that type of association.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 11B.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Second, Murillo.
Councilmember Murillo to approve item number 11B. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, a call for the question on the adoption of 11B.
Okay. Mayor might have to do a roll call vote because eScribe is not working. So Mayor Pro Tem Bergen,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Coombs,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
Councilmember Sundberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Zvonek,
Yes.
Councilmember Drinsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Lawson,
Yes.
and Councilmember Murillo.
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-230.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 11C.
Item 11C is Resolution 2022-231, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, expressing the Aurora City Council's approval of the recommended list of median improvement projects.
A brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. My name is Nicole Ankeny, and I am the manager of Planning, Design, and Construction for the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. Our department has implemented a median landscaping enhancement program since 2015. Sites are evaluated annually based upon a scoring matrix and require approval by City Council. The 8 projects recommended for 2022 and presented during last week's study session include median sections along the following roadways: North Tower Road, East 6th Avenue, South Chambers Road, 2 sections along South Peoria Street, South Airport Boulevard, South Buckley Road, and last but not least, East Hamden Avenue. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve 11C.
Moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Mayor, second.
Councilmember Lawson. Further discussion on item number 11C?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, and again, Smoky Hill Road median is in dire need of being done. So staff will be getting me some costs and options in February.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is adoption of item number 11C. Call for the question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I voted yes.
Councilmember Zvonek.
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-231.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 11D?
Item 11D is Resolution 2022-232, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, expressing the Aurora City Council's approval of naming a neighborhood park in Green Valley Ranch East Windy Plumes Park.
A brief presentation by staff.
For the record, Curtis Bish, Planning Supervisor in the Pros Department. This resolution is to officially name a new neighborhood park in the Green Valley Ranch East development. This park is being developed by the developer, Oakwood Homes, and it will be turned over to the city to own and maintain. Because it will be a new addition to the city-owned park system, we must officially name it, and Windy Plumes Park is the recommended name.
Motion is in order.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. First, questions of staff. Motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 11D.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by
Sundberg.
Councilmember Sundberg to approve item number 11D. Discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 11D. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-232.
Clerk, now please read the title of item number 11E.
Item 11E is Resolution 2022-233, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, expressing the Aurora City Council's approval of the amendment to the service agreement between the city and Clean the World Global LLC for mobile showers.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Emma Knight. I am the manager of homeless programs. This resolution is to approve the amendment on our existing agreement with Clean the World Global. They run our shower trailer that provides showers and hygiene services to our safe outdoor spaces. And the question before you is, do you approve?
Questions of staff?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No question. I just want to say thank you, Emma, for the information that you provided me.
Happy to do so.
Further questions? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 11E.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by
Marcano.
Second by Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 11E. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is adoption of item number 11E. Call for the question.
Councilmember Zvonek. Oh, thank you. The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-233.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 11F?
Item 11F is Resolution 2022-234, a resolution by the City Council of Aurora, Colorado to approve the Colorado Region 8 opioid IGA.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. My name is Kendall Kocha, Manager of Special Projects Office. Tonight I'm presenting a resolution for Council's consideration to approve the IGA between the City of Aurora and the Adams County Regional Council opioid abatement. The IGA establishes a regional council and sets the procedures to administer related funds in accordance with the Colorado Opioid Settlement MOU, which was signed in October last year by the city. The IGA with Arapahoe County was signed in June, and the agreement with Douglas County is forthcoming.
Questions of staff?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Hi, Kendall. Hi. Is this set up that very similar to the Region 9 with Arapahoe County?
Very similar. The biggest difference is that we have a rotating member on the council versus one that is a permanent seat.
Okay, and then the amount of monies obviously differ as well.
Pardon me?
The amount of monies differ as well in terms of allocation.
The amount of money differs, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion, further questions of staff? Motion is in order.
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion to approve 11F.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Chirinsky.
Councilmember Chirinsky to approve item number 11F. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, question before us is the adoption of item number 11F. Call for the question. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-234.
Item number 11G, LGBTQ, is that 1A? IA, no. Resolution of support. Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. And thank you to our city attorneys and everyone who helped put this together. Kind of came about in a quick manner, but essentially the impetus for this resolution is in response to the recent shootings that occurred in Colorado Springs. This is not the first shooting targeting safe spaces in the LGBTQIA community, but this one does hit close to home, and I feel that in this time, that's a very fear-inducing and traumatizing event for anyone. But there's an increase in anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, and as a city, I think it is our job to help people, make people feel safe in our city. And I think this is a small way that we can do that. I think it's a pretty straightforward resolution. I welcome any thoughts or discussion, but really the impetus was kind of the recent events that happened in Colorado Springs. And I mean, that's again, a very public and traumatizing event, and that sends an indirect message about people's worth and value in what had been traditionally considered a safe space, and where we can do our part to overcome that from a city council's perspective and indirectly communicate and directly communicate people's worth and value in our community via this resolution. I think it's worth the energy and the effort. So that's the premise, and I think it's pretty straightforward, and I hope I can count on my colleagues' support.
Questions of the sponsor or staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yeah, I just, I absolutely support this. I just wish that it was just a resolution by the City Council of Aurora, Colorado condemning hate crimes. People need to feel safe in this city. You just said that yourself, Councilmember Murillo, and this shooting is absolutely horrifying, and it just seems to add to a growing list. But here, shootings that come to mind, a school, we had Columbine, a movie theater right here in Aurora, we had a grocery store in Boulder. These are all supposed to be safe spaces. You should be able to go to the grocery store and make it out of there without being shot at. You should be able to go to a movie theater and make it out of there without being shot at. A nightclub, school. I mean, I know the parents on this council think about their kids a lot. So, and when something happens like this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a mosque that's attacked, if it's a synagogue that's attacked, if it's a LGBTQ nightclub attacked. It affects everyone. Everyone knows someone involved, affected, that possibly died, was hurt. I mean, hate is hate. And I guess my issue with this is that it talks about hate solely committed against one group, and we have seen so many of these shootings and so many attacks, and I guess I just wish and would like to see that we condemn hate, and we condemn hate crimes against people in the city of Aurora, everywhere. For me, that's what I would like to see.
Mayor.
Let me get a motion first. Motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. Move to approve agenda item 11G, the LGBTQIA plus resolution of support.
It's been moved by Councilmember Murillo, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 11G. Discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So yeah, I very much hear you, Councilmember Jurenski. All hate is abhorrent. And we as a council recently had a proclamation that you received condemning specifically anti-Semitism because communities that are directly impacted by that hate still deserve direct support and acknowledgement from the rest of our communities. And so in this case, with LGBTQIA people, we have been subject to an increasing amount of hateful rhetoric, hateful acts, a resurgence of kinds of rhetoric that I haven't seen since I was a teenager, in terms of calling us perverts, in terms of trying to, and we've seen legislation, the likes of which I haven't seen since I was a teenager, that is specifically harmful to us. And it was specifically a safe space for LGBTQIA people. Gay bars and clubs are some of the only places where actually we do get to feel safe. When I go to the grocery store with my spouse, I see people sneering and jeering. So it's not a lot of places that are safe for a lot of people are not safe in the same way for us. And these spaces are supposed to be the spaces where we're free to be ourselves. And so when there are attacks on those types of spaces, what it says is not just, we don't want you to be you in the grocery store or in the library or in the park, which are already places where we're told you don't get to be you. It's also the one little corner of the world that you got to have to be safe, you don't get to be there either. And what that really says is we don't want you to be. And so for me, like, that's why I appreciate Councilmember Murillo bringing this forward, and why I feel like at this time, in light of that specific tragedy, that it is of value to just have our community stand in that solidarity and say, like, yes, we believe that you should get to be. We believe that you should get to exist, and we support you.
Okay.
Mayor.
Mr. Schulte, I just have a question. Can you give us a quick brief in terms of what the legal standard is for a hate crime as an enhancement?
Yes, sir. So a hate crime is the actual offense or the criminal act was done because of somebody's part of a community, part of a distinct group. But it could be religious, it could be sexual orientation, it could be any one of the protected classes. So it's a regular crime that adds a hate crime overlay onto it. So this would be, if this is filed that way down in El Paso County, it would be murder in the first degree or second degree with a hate crime component, and it increases the penalty.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski.
So I guess my question would be then, why not have a proclamation? Why not have a day of? I mean, I just, one thing that really stands out to me and a lot that I've been reading about with this shooting, and I've done a lot of reading about this shooting in particular, a lot of things really stood out to me. But, not everybody that was, of the 5 that were killed, were actually a part of the LGBT or fit, under one of the letters of that community. And so when I say, when an attack like this happens, it affects more than just who fits into that community. I guess that's sort of what I mean. And so why not have a proclamation then? Why not have a day of, I just, to have a resolution of support, and we're directing the city manager to say that we condemn hate crimes against the LGBT, QIA community. If you feel that that's just, then I'll support it. But I feel like hate crimes are becoming overwhelmingly accepted against multiple groups, multiple protected classes. And instead of saying, and the thing about anti-Semitism, first of all, I didn't even know that was coming, to be honest with you. I wasn't even contacted about that, had no idea about it. But anti-Semitism is very much on the rise. I mean, we're being banned from college campuses, So why not take it a step further then? Why not condemn all hate?
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Combs.
Yeah, I mean, again, I support condemning all hate. I think that the point is that right now, today, in light of this particular tragedy and the specific impact it has on LGBTQIA people, that's why Councilmember Murillo, to my understanding, and maybe I should let her speak for herself, brought this forward. And again, that's not to say, like, I absolutely agree, anti-Semitism is also on the rise. And in this case, it was an LGBTQIA community safe space that was attacked. So a person going into that space is going into that space with the intent of attacking our community. That allies who were present were also harmed, whether killed or otherwise harmed, is absolutely tragic. And it doesn't change the fact that it was specifically going to a place where we are supposed to be able to be ourselves and saying, I feel that people who are in such a place should die, that's a specific impact on us. And I, again, yes, I do think it's right and just in this situation and at this time to specifically provide this support to our community specifically. And I 100% support condemning all hate crimes in general.
I'm in support of the resolution. We ask for a yes vote. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of item number 11G. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2022-235.
Has everybody voted? Should you call the vote?
Yes.
Okay. The time is now 7:46. We will stand in recess until 7:55. Council stands in recess. It's the first time I got to use it. That was really. The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council is called back to order. Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 12A?
12A is ordinance 2022-74, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, rezoning a parcel of land measuring 22 acres more or less at the northeast corner of 6th Avenue and Airport Boulevard from mixed-use corridor zone district to business tech zone district and amending the zoning map accordingly.
Presentation, the public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Brandon Camerata with the Planning Department. As mentioned, this is a proposed rezoning of a parcel of land located at Airport and 6th, as described there. The rezone is from MUC, Mixed Use Corridor, to I-1, which is Business Tech, a light industrial zone district. As you can see, the property is vacant. It's adjacent north of the Pickens Tech campus, which is just south of 6th Avenue there. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use plan, which identifies this area as innovation district. And the Planning Commission recommended approval of this item on November 9th by unanimous vote of 6-0 per meeting criteria in the UDO. If there's any questions, I would try to answer them.
Presentation by the applicant?
No presentation by the applicant.
Very well. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on this issue?
No.
Questions of staff?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Since it's next to, I guess, is it the Laredo Heights neighborhood or Highland community? Were there any comments from them at the Planning Commission?
Only no comments at the Planning Commission. I had one inquiry call and explained what's going on, and no further questions from that.
So, because they're obviously it's residential, so from mixed use commercial to the whatever it is, we have too many zoning codes for one thing. But how does that change in terms of what could be there?
So mixed use, MUC is mixed use corridor, and it's pretty much our most typical commercial-oriented zone district. So
like retail?
Retail, and also allows some multifamily and things of that sort, versus I-1 is a light industrial zone district. So it is consistent with the I-1 that is immediately to the east, which is currently zoned I-1, and then also to the north is the APZ zone district, which generally fits in better with the light industrial sort of uses as well. So it's very consistent with the items on, or the land uses certainly on the east side of Airport Boulevard.
Well, we don't have an actual application for the zoning, but we don't for what would possibly go there, correct?
Correct. A site plan will be required for this parcel.
Okay, so when that comes forward, if there's any, would the neighbors still have input at that point when the site plan comes forward?
Yes, whether it's, we do notice adjacent landowners and post the property for a site plan as well.
Okay, thank you.
This meets the height restrictions that are imposed by the base?
Yes, Mayor. The base was sent a referral on this, did not have any concerns with the project. Any site plan proposal will have to meet the height limitations in place for the zone district, as well as relationship to the base.
Very well. Further questions of staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I guess the only question I have then is, oftentimes there will be a rezone without a specific proposal, and the neighbors are like, okay, well, I guess I don't have any concerns, I don't know, or they aren't aware to have anything to say. And then when it comes time for the site plan, whatever that site plan is a use by right, and then it's very difficult for council to justify any non-approval of that site plan. So I guess, can we clarify, because it sounds like we do have some folks in the audience from that neighborhood. So we know MUC is commercial, so retail, office, some residential. What specifically are the uses in I-1 that would be permitted that are different than those uses, just so the folks know?
So, for the folks in the audience, as well as council, the I-1 district is a light industrial district. It exists, as I mentioned, to the properties to the east. So, some of the uses that can be permitted in that zone district include like self-storage, flex office type uses, as well as warehousing type uses. By comparison, I think you outlined pretty well what the MUC would otherwise permit there.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, and I concur that a lot of times we do the zoning and we say it's compatible, it fits in with the Aurora Places comprehensive plan, but then, then when it actually happens, then we'll get comments from residents that say, when did it get rezoned? We thought it was going to be this, and now it's this. In this particular situation, it could actually end up with possibly less traffic, less height than a multi-family apartment complex that would go in, correct?
Mayor, through you, yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
This is, if you're familiar with this area, everything to the east of it is light industrial. And I think the requirements for the base is that it be, I think, single story, low density in terms of workers, because of the issues in terms of being on or near the flight path. Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So just following on, again, having had some recent experience with these types of concerns about rezoning, are there any types of uses, so in the surrounding area, are there adequate amenities as far as grocery, restaurant, like other retail uses that would otherwise be possible in this space? Or are we going to end up with people being like, well, what we really thought we were going to get here was a grocery store or something along those lines, versus light industrial, so a self-storage or a flex office?
Mayor, through you, I think this parcel has been vacant a long time, and a lot of that has to do with the proximity and other restrictions in relationship to being next to the base. And so basically, we're trying to find a zone district that is more suitable for the restrictions that are around the base, because it clearly hasn't been able to develop in a commercial fashion due to restrictions and perhaps other dynamics in the area, as this neighborhood's been around for many, many decades.
Okay.
Further discussion. Seeing none, a motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 12A.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by.
Mayor, we need to close the public hearing.
I'm sorry?
We have to close the public hearing.
Oh. Public hearing is now closed. A motion is in order. Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by.
Mayor, second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson to approve item number 12A. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 12A. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt ordinance 2022-74.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 12B.
Item 12B is ordinance 2022-75, public hearing and consideration of ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, amending Chapter 146 of the City Code to create a definition for data centers and to allow data centers as a conditional and permitted use in individual industrial zoning districts.
Public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. As mentioned, this is an amendment to the UDO, the zoning code. And what this amendment is doing is adding the allowance of data centers to the APZ zone district in addition to the zone districts it's already permitted in. And then it's also adjusting the minimum parking requirement to better suit how data centers function. With regards to this proposal, the APZ district is situated at the end of the runways of Buckley Space Force, and Buckley has been consulted directly on numerous occasions and updated on the status of this ordinance throughout the process and has not identified concerns. This proposal was brought to the Planning Commission on 11/9 and was recommended for approval by 6-0 vote per the criteria in the UDO. If there's any questions, I could try to answer them.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, is there anybody from the public that wishes to be heard on this issue? There's no one. Are there questions of staff? I'm sorry. I have, is there somebody from our water department here with us? I don't know that there is. Marshall? Let me tell you, these data centers, besides obviously using a lot of energy, use a lot of water. They have a big footprint with few employees. And from an economic development standpoint, they're not the highest and best use. I wonder if Marshall Brown could be present to address the water use. Hey, Marshall, can you review the issues in terms of water usage and any of the restrictions that you've imposed on data centers?
Thank you.
Please proceed. No.
It looks like he might have frozen.
Could it be a data center is retaliating against my comments somehow?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
while we're waiting, if I can just clarify, because I think this arose somewhat from my question at the study session. My suggestion was not that data centers are fundamentally not a good land use. My question was whether or not we envision some type of changes to the zoning code for data centers that would require them to abide by more stringent water use kind of requirements for their landscaping and other areas to offset their high water use from their operations. And Mr. Camarada said he's not aware of any currently proposed changes.
Wow.
I do think it would be worth asking Marshall when he's available whether or not
Sure.
he can think of some possible policies that could,
Right.
kind of reduce the water footprint.
I believe that they would be subject to the new ordinance in terms of water conservation, but let me go to Marshall Brown in terms of addressing Councilmember Coombs' question and my question.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, can you hear me? Okay, so what we've done is disallowed evaporative cooling for the data centers that have been coming in. And by disallowing evaporative cooling and going to closed loop cooling systems, we've minimized the water use at data centers to be similar to a single-family residential footprint. We've been doing this. We plan on, and the data centers that have come in recently have been voluntarily complying with that. We plan to actually formalize that requirement. And then in combination with the new water conservation ordinance, the water use at the data centers is actually lower than a lot of other uses we're having come.
Very well. Mayor Pro Tem.
Question about, so it would be conditional use, correct? For the data center?
Mayor, through you, it would be a permitted use in most of the zone districts. There's 2 of them that are identified as being conditional, I believe.
Okay.
So in the new zoning, it would be permitted, not conditional?
Correct. In the APZ zone district, it's proposed as permitted.
Permitted. So that does not allow public input, whereas conditional does?
This is in, I believe, sub-area B, mostly the APZ, and most site plans go to a public hearing. It would depend on the scale and scope of the site plan. But a data center, back to that, is probably going to a public hearing, but it depends on the scale of it as well.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor,
Public hearing closed. Motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 12B.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coons to approve item number 12B. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 12B. Call for the question.
the motion passes to adopt ordinance 2022-75.
Item number 15A, 15B, and 15C were passed unanimously in the first reading, and so we can take them as we take the consent calendar. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, motion to approve 15A, B, and C.
Second, Gardner.
Been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Gardner to approve item number 15A, 15B, and 15C. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, question before us is the adoption of item number 15A, 15B, and 15C. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt ordinances 2022-71, 72, and 73.
General business, would the clerk please read the title to item number 19A?
Item 19A is consideration to appoint 2 members to the Citizens Advisory Committee on Housing and Community Development.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to appoint Judy Donovan and Mohammed Faisal to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Housing and Community Development.
Further discussion? I'm sorry. Second? Is there?
Medina.
It's moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by Councilmember Medina to appoint Judy Donovan and Mohammed Faisal to the Citizens Advisory Committee on Housing and Community Development. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the questions.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes to adopt item 19A.
Would clerk now please read the title to item number 19B?
Item 19B is consideration to reappoint 2 members to the Public Defender's Commission.
Motion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to reappoint David Kaplan and Francis Smiley Brown to the Public Defenders Commission.
It's been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Marcano.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcano to appoint reappoint David Kaplan and appoint Francis Smiley Brown to the Public Defenders Commission. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 2A. Is it
19B.
Yeah, 2A, 2B.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes.
Councilmember Marcano?
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt item 19B.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 3.
Item
I'm sorry, item number 19C.
Item 19C is consideration to appoint 1 member and reappoint 2 members to the Aurora Youth Commission.
Motion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to appoint Srihari Asokan and reappoint Advik Srivastava and Mike Burke to the Aurora Youth Commission.
It's been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Lawson to appoint Srihari Asokan, Advik Srivastava, I don't know, Mike Burke, something like what I said. Discussion to the Aurora Youth Commission. Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 19C. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman?
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt item 19C.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 19D.
Item 19D is consideration to reappoint 2 members to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Mayor.
Motion, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, a motion to reappoint Melvin Bush and Robert Geiser.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Marcano?
Councilmember Gardner to appoint, or reappoint Melvin Bush and Robert Geiser to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the call for the question on the adoption of item number 19A. I'm sorry, 19D.
Mayor Kaufman?
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt item 19D.
Reports, obviously, we passed a resolution to honor the victims of the terrible hate crime that occurred in Colorado Springs. And as well, the city reached out to Colorado Springs, our chief of police, to their chief of police to see what, if any, resources we could supply Colorado Springs in light of this terrible tragedy, as well as a condolence letter sent by myself and the City Council to the people of Colorado Springs. Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to give my condolences and prayers to the city of Colorado. Although I've lived in Aurora for over 20 years, I grew up in Colorado Springs, so I'm very connected to that community as well. So I wish nothing but healing and to the families and to the city and the community. For my Pfizer report, the federal, state, and intergovernmental relations, the House and Senate and Congress are both back in session this week. Negotiations continue over the final text of the fiscal year 2023 omnibus bus package. While lawmakers have made some progress, final top-line figures have not yet been agreed upon. If lawmakers are without a deal by December 16th, Congress must pass another continuing resolution to keep the government funded. The city's earmark requests are part of this budget package, and our federal lobbyists will keep us updated if they remain in the final bill. And that's my report, Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner. No. Councilmember Jorinsky.
No report.
Councilmember Zvonek.
Thank you, Mayor. For nearly 14 years, Aurora faced a road maintenance funding deficit that grew each year, resulting in the deterioration of our road conditions across the city. Neighborhoods were hit especially hard as they haven't seen repair whatsoever going back to 2016. Over the next 2 years, the City of Aurora will begin to deliver on its promise to address the top priority of residents by improving our road conditions. We knew that in order to do this, we'd have to find an innovative funding solution to address this challenge, and to do so without raising taxes. Earlier this year, by a unanimous vote, Council supported a plan that did just that. The road maintenance plan that passed will provide both the one-time funding needed to address the decade-old backlog, as well as create a standalone road maintenance fund that will prevent this type of deficit in the future. Hopefully, this is just the first of many efforts that will address the city's infrastructure needs without raising taxes. The kickoff of what is being billed as the Build Up Aurora projects will take place this coming Thursday at 1 o'clock at the Summer Valley Park, which is 17400 East Lehigh Place. For more information on the neighborhoods that will be impacted and to watch for future Build Up Aurora projects, you can visit engageaurora.org/buildupaurora. That's all I have.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. Just quickly, my last town hall of the year is actually going to be this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Moorhead Recreation Center. I hope to see you all there. Bye-bye.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, I met with the organization Warrior Now and Arapahoe County Veterans Services to learn about their efforts to target veterans and help them out of addiction through peer-to-peer mentorship and a support network. I learned of veterans statistically being higher in home ownership and other in earnings, that vets, those that join the military often experience trauma before going into the military in a lot of cases and come out perhaps with greater trauma. But what a great organization these two are together in their teamwork for recovery and intervention, and just making things happen with getting people off of alcohol, drugs, preventing suicide, etc. There was a problem in the Vista Peak neighborhood surrounding area there, Cross Creek, of teens sort of overrunning the parks. You may have seen that on the news. So a team effort with the PAR officers of APD, the faculty of Vista Peak, the APS school board, Dr. Ankiki, a lot of people got involved to address the neighbors' concerns. Obviously, the teens have a youth's right to the park, but they have to behave themselves, and there's been progress made there. My town hall was canceled because of inclement weather, severe snowstorm, and on top of that, Councilmember Jurinski didn't want to get cold, so we had to call it off. That'll happen in January. Is that right?
Councilmember Medina.
No report, Mayor.
Councilmember Marcano.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And I wanted to let you all know that our next Ward 4 meeting is going to be on Thursday, January 12th at 6:30 p.m. at Colorado Early Colleges. We're going to have an update on Aurora Public Schools from Director Ankiki, an introduction from District 4 Arapahoe County Commissioner-elect Leslie Summey, and a brief on her priorities on representing Ward 4 on the Arapahoe County Commission. So those of you who might not know, if you live in Ward 4, you live in House District 41 and County Commissioner District 4. And then we're also going to have an introduction with our new interim chief of police, Art Acevedo. So each speaker is going to have, a Q&A afterwards. So it should be a really informative meeting, and I hope to see you all there.
Councilmember Coombs.
Thank you, Mayor. So Dr. Cog met on December 17th. We had a meeting of the Finance and Budget Committee where we received a positive audit for the organization from Clifton Larson Allen. We also had a discussion of the Transportation Improvement Plan and board comments on the greenhouse gas rulemaking. And we received an initial presentation on state legislative priorities, which I will follow up with Councilmember Lawson about what those Dr. Cog priorities are to get feedback from FISR on those items. And then there was an item I forgot to mention at our last council meeting because it had gotten so late, which is that we did have a meeting of the Highline Canal Conservancy Forum. And so to the comments from Mr. Heaton about what is the Highline Canal, I just wanted to address, it's a 61-mile greenway that runs from Waterton Canyon in the southwest of the metro region up into Green Valley Ranch in northeast part of the region in Aurora, and a significant portion, I believe 17 miles of the canal, are in the city of Aurora specifically. So that puts a lot on us in terms of participating in and contributing to the maintenance, of the canal as a recreational amenity, but we also do use a small portion of the canal as stormwater infrastructure, which is what it used to be. And so it does cost the city, certainly, to be a part of maintaining that amenity for our region, but we also do get access to grants from DRCOG, and there's also a capital campaign from the Conservancy to raise about $20 million to help contribute as well. And just a lot of discussions about making sure that whatever way we as a city are contributing to maintaining the canal, now that it's primarily no longer water infrastructure, that we are not being asked to do more than our fair share as a city. But it is an amenity that I take advantage of to walk my baby and walk with my friends. And I know that there are many who really value that for folks that have it in their area and have access to the canal. So just wanted to give that update. We did get an update on the capital campaign, as well as where we are with different jurisdictions, kind of figuring out our role in maintaining the canal moving into the future. I did also speak at the Meadowood Neighborhood Association annual meeting, and I know that they definitely were concerned about crime and what we're doing as a city council in relation to crime, so I was able to give them some updates on that, as well as our recreation centers, which they've expressed ongoing concern about. I also had my town hall, which was really productive and helpful. We particularly had an extended discussion with the consent decree monitor, and they were able to answer a lot of community questions. I appreciate them taking the time to be there. And finally, just want to thank my colleagues for supporting the resolution in support of our LGBTQIA+ community. And thanks to the community as well for the solidarity that folks really have shown. I've had folks reach out from the NAACP, from neighboring city councils, as well as I was able to attend a vigil put on by the Community College of Aurora, which had a lot of folks who are not members of our community, but who nonetheless did express their support and solidarity. And I just really appreciate all of that solidarity that's come from all corners of our community in relation to this tragedy. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to extend my condolences to the Colorado Springs community, to the victims and their families for this horrible tragedy. You are in my prayers. I had Region 9 governance meeting last week, and we reviewed and prioritized projects, and we have another meeting actually tomorrow from 4 to 6, where we'll kind of finalize the projects that we're going to eventually fund, and that funding or that RFP process will take place in the January-February timeframe. E470, we approved a contract for the central maintenance facility, and just waiting on building permits from the city, hopefully coming soon. And then also for Jewel Avenue, I know that it's difficult sometimes to cross over from E470 onto Jewel. The E470 Authority has allocated $1.2 million to the signals for that intersection, but it looks like, based on some of the supply chain issues, that the completion is anticipated to be fall of 2024. And then I attended my last meeting for the Mile High Flood District as Mayor Pro Tem. So the new Mayor Pro Tem, whoever that shall be, will take on that role. It was the last meeting of the year. We did the adoption of the floodplain maps, also certification of tax levies, and then the 5-year capital plan. And then just want to say thank you to John Kellner, our district attorney, for the 18th that presented at my last town hall on prosecuting crimes. And also thank you to Commander Lanigan, and that's it. I just also want to say that I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. It is one of my favorite holidays because it reminds me to be thankful of what I have.
And there'll be a rule change coming up that will allow you to continue on that particular board on the Mile High flood control. With that, meeting adjourned.